All right, so let's get this going. So we figured that was the best representation of what's actually happening here, and most other times that we're not actually sitting here. So that should be coming through in a couple minutes. Welcome back. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Friday. It feels like a whirlwind of times here. We just finished the running race last night, so 30 days on of doing the calendar club. Jesse Itzler, Colin O'Brady had a super, just a tremendous challenge. It was crazy, and it all came full circle last night. Running in the pouring rain, soaking wet like a wet dog out there. Cops were looking at me there because they got nothing to do. So I just kept doing a 6-mile circuit 5 times for 30 miles. And every time they just were trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing, because I'm out here running into the wind like the Forrest Gump where the rain's going sideways. And I feel like no matter what direction I was going, I was literally leaning into the rain and the wind. But we got it done. I actually was expecting to be home about midnight, and I guess I got home at 11. Okay. So got energized in the end. Come home to have a coffee at 10 p.m. We'll do that at that point. Not ideal, but it is what to get done there. So we wanted to talk a little bit today, lessons learned, right? So some of the lessons that we learned over the course of this, and I think it kind of reinforces what's happening out there and a lot about what's going on when we're taking action. But before I forget, let's jump in here. We are live, got that going. So lesson number 1 really is that nothing's perfect, and that's okay. I knew this race was going to be a test. Knew it wasn't going to be ideal. Wasn't my fastest, wasn't my slowest, but it's done. And sometimes that's the part, is that you're not going to have your best day. You're not going to have your worst day, and that's okay. You just got to keep pushing forward.
And this goes through into everything in life, especially for you mamas and papas out there who are taking care of your children right now. And you want them to have the perfect education. You want them to have the perfect day. You want to be the perfect parents for them. It's not going to happen. So don't put that pressure on yourself. Schedule it out as great as you can, and then move forward.
Perseverance is number 2, and that matters the most. Sometimes it's what it takes, right? There's going to be a million different reasons why you won't get it done. Last night, my foot was bruised. I couldn't really, it hurt more with the shoe on than off, but in that fact it was. But you take 2,000 steps per mile. And in my mind, we'll go with math. I said, well, that's 60,000 steps. So with my left foot, I'm going to take 30,000 steps on a bruised foot. Then I said, forget it. I'm actually use this to my advantage and say this is 30,000 ways that I get reminded of making accomplishment. Just that little thing to turn it around is something that can really change your mindset. Instead of saying, this hurts and now this is pain, and said, okay, well, this is something to grow from.
Yeah, it's basically the I get to mindset. I get to run. I get to be hurting, but then I get to have this amazing accomplishment.
This is something, the next one, that leads a lot into business. Sometimes your knee hurts, but it's actually your hip that's causing the pain. So much time we focus on something and we lock in on that. That must be the reason things aren't working. But we don't allow ourselves to think, well, could it be something else? Is there something else out there? And sometimes the best thing is to have someone else come in there and just give you a clean perspective, because when they're looking at it, they can give you a clean view, because sometimes we're so involved, we're so together with it that we miss the easy part. Happens a lot when I'm running. If I'm running on a street and the street, has the crowd on the road, and I'm running on the side of the street and the street's pitched, after a while, you'll realize that you'll start to have some kind of pain come up, just because you're running on a not the ideal pitch. So really just figuring out what that is, that issue, or changing sides of the street, or running on different landscapes, that fixes everything. But you got to realize that it's not always what you exactly are pinpointing on, and just be open-minded about what it is.
He said everything that needs to be said about that. Basically, make sure when you have your pain point, that's not something else that's causing it.
And so next.
Done trumps thinking about trying every time. Just get it done. Get those dreams out of your head, put it to paper, and make them happen.
The learning process sometimes really just happens with the doing, right? We can read all we want if we're a little kid about riding a bike until we actually do it. nothing's accomplished. And we don't learn the actual trials and tribulations of taking to do the process till we can actually get forward and get with motion. So you just got to start doing. We think, when we were little, we didn't have this point of just like keeping ourselves back. If we were, thinking about how would we look all the time, we would have never walked, right? Because we look foolish when we're little babies trying to stumble around. Imagine us trying to do anything these days. We don't want to look foolish, but sometimes we just have to say, okay, I just got to start. I'm not going to be perfect. I just got to get out there and get going.
So some days it's mental, some days it's physical, and some days it's both. So figure out what is keeping you from reaching your ultimate goal, reaching your day, reaching just even to get out of bed sometimes. I know there's some of you out there that are just having a really hard time out there right now. Pinpoint what it is and step over it.
And next one is, don't assume today's results are based on yesterday, right? Just because yesterday was great doesn't mean today's gonna be great. Just because yesterday was bad doesn't mean today's gonna be bad. Every day is a new day to make something happen and be your best. And if you just get locked in on what's happened in the past, you can never get out of that. And you see lots of times that the focus gets so hard in on what's happened in life that you forget to think about, okay, well, this is a clean slate. Right now, all I have is what I'm present here at the moment, being able to do. This is everything I can do right now. And if I can just take advantage of being here in the now, then I can grow, then I can be my best. But if I'm stuck on what's happened before, there is no time machine travel. I can't go back and fix that. So I can only deal with what I'm doing right this second.
The present is a gift. Treat it as such.
Last one. I control my thoughts, feelings, and actions.
Your choice. It's your choice.
You're not a puppet. There's no one here that's forcing you in any way to feel a way, to think a way. You are in control. So you can either push that and max that out with positivity, or let other negativities come in and force your hand. But you're in control. Ultimately, right now, to the end of it, you are number one in control of what's happening. So what do we have coming on the show today?
We have the amazing Gabe DaSilva. This guy is fantastic. He has a past as a restaurateur. He broke into the flipping business like, oh my God, he like exploded into the flipping business. I mean, when we were flipping, we even went to him for some of our systems. He is crazy amazing. And right now he is in the throes of #75hard. So
yep, super systematic. Does a add a level process where he actually takes a ranch or takes another single story home, adds a level to it, increases the value tenfold from it. It's just an amazing thing. He's a great guy, and we're gonna love to have him on the show. Hey, Gabe, how you doing?
What's up, guys?
How's everything going?
Fantastic.
Awesome.
I was out there with you last night, bro.
Yeah,
I was out there.
That one was crazy.
It was like you said, it was a gift. We got to be out there. That's how I looked at it. I got to be out there in the rain, logging those steps. I actually bumped into one other savage that was out there with us, and he just threw his hands up and he said, "Perfect conditions."
That's right.
I said, "This guy's one of us." So
what it is, especially I like it when we're not self-isolation, because there's no one else out there. And now I don't have to have those weird looks when people are walking by and no one's got a mask on and you're out there running. You have to figure it out. Now it's just me and really just pavement.
Yeah.
So, dude, talk to us, man. You have so much going on. How are you treating today? How are you navigating the waters here with what's happening here with COVID in your business? What are some of the changes you've made that have really been beneficial to what you're doing?
So of course, like everybody else, well, not like everybody else, a lot of people have their head in the sand and aren't doing anything. But we said, if we're going to stay active, we are going to stay active. That was never an if. How are we going to do it? And the stuff with the construction piece, the at a level piece you alluded to, we continue to move forward with construction here. We're fortunate that Murphy's letting us do that. There's a lot of other parts of the country that's not the case. So things are slower, of course, because inspections and things are delayed. But beyond that, what are we doing on the marketing side? What are we doing with the stuff that's coming down the pike? Do we want to be taking on 2, 3, 4 more $1 million construction heavy rehabs? The answer is no, not in the midst of all this uncertainty. So we've pivoted and we've adopted a new model, and we're shifting to wholesale. And so we could unpack that a little bit if we want.
Sure.
But yeah, that's primarily what's changed for us.
So let us know why you switched gears. Like, okay, first of all, everyone, Gabe works in the millions and like double-digit millions of dollar homes. He does fantastic work, but like he said, there's no way that can keep on going. So explain why you jumped into wholesaling.
So even before all this happened, we were losing millionaires to the tune of 500 a month. The state of New Jersey was seeing this mass exodus going on for probably close to 2 years now. And at that rate, what sense does it make to keep building product for people that aren't here? If they're leaving, why are you building product for them? So just from like a macro standpoint, we looked at it and said, yeah, it's our core competency. It's what we do. But if we continue to do that, we're going to be left with a lot of inventory and nobody to buy it. So the shift was already underway long before this happened. We weren't anticipating the black swan COVID to come along, but we were anticipating something, some correction. It came in the form of this. But already we had realized we were going to need to pivot. And that's what was prompting us to get out of those really construction heavy rehabs at those price points. That's not to say that at levels in the 650s don't make sense. They do. I just don't think that at 1, 1, 2, 1, 5, you want to be doing 5, 6, 7 of them like we were in the past.
Yeah, and also you have a lot of capital gets tied up, and there might be a lot of opportunities that come across, and you constantly have to have your head on the swivel, right? So if you're thinking about your business and you get dormant like Blockbuster, and then all of a sudden you find yourself behind, but you're constantly ahead of the stream. What are you seeing out there with your projects? What are some ideas that you could share with some other flippers out there that you think could be beneficial for them to look at?
I think in this pause, it serves everybody to really, and not only because I'm a process and systems guy, everybody should be digging into their processes and systems right now. You've got some time, you're down now. You have no excuse to not dig in. Get your systems tight. You're going to need them to be tight now. When you used to lose a day or two and had inspectors at the ready, towns were working with you, you could pick those days back up. That's not the case now. Inspectors are working 1 day a week. In some towns. So if your systems aren't tight, if you're not calling in inspections when you need them, things like that, you're going to lose a lot more time. So I would say now's the time to really dig in and get your systems tight if they're not already. Ours are, and we're still digging in. We're still tweaking, always.
Gabe, are you still coaching?
Yeah. We have.
So you guys hit up Gabe DaSilva because his systems are tight. You know, look up to those that have those systems, especially right now, and get those systems just like Gabe said.
So what are some of the things that you see that are usually broken when flippers are not having their systems tight? What's usually the leak in the wall?
The biggest culprit is trade management. I mean, just this week, our workshop is it's 4 parts. So we've been doing find, fund, fix, flip, and we cycle through. And this is the fix week. And this is what we've been unpacking with the guys. And like the tradesmen, the order of operations, what has to happen in what order, who comes in before and behind whom. Are you 2 weeks out? Are you forward looking? Have you had the conversations with the next chunk of trades that are coming in? Or are you waiting for the guys that are on site now to finish before you engage the next group of guys? If you're doing that, you're behind. You're playing catch up. That's in my experience, it's always been the miss. Guys are just so focused on what's happening right then and there that they forget to be forward looking. It's the same reason a lot of investors or builders will say, I don't pre-sell. I don't want to be bothered. Well, the reality of it is their model's not built for pre-sale because they're so focused on the now and executing on the project that they can't even think about bringing a buyer in pre-construction and selling the project. So it's really about trade management is, the biggest weakness, I think.
So in working with subcontractors during COVID, what are some processes you've put in place now just to keep everyone safe throughout this process?
So Murphy's got us limited to 5 guys on site at any given time. We understand that some crews have 3, some crews have 2, some have 4. If I have 3 different trades working in parallel, I'm going to have more than 5 guys on site. That's just the fact of it. Well, how do I work around what's allowable? How do I make sure these guys stay safe and work in parallel? Well, I have 4 guys working outside. I have 2 guys working on the 3rd floor and 2 guys working in the basement. So we're kind of monitoring that, making sure they have masks, making sure when they take lunch outside and apart. How they get to and from the job, we can't control, right? 4 guys filing out of a van at once, probably not ideal, but like how they get there and home, we don't really have control over that. But once they're on site, we're making sure that that things are running, tight. Keep the jobs clean as always. That's like our site standards. How you do anything is how you do everything. So make sure the site's clean. But yeah, just popping in on them and making sure that they're doing the right things, just like we always did before. Like I said, it hasn't really changed how we operate rehabs, with the exception of town implemented delays. But beyond that, like we're moving. We drive these processes.
Awesome.
Love it.
How bullish do you feel on where we're going to come out on the other side of this on the scale of 1 to 10?
12.
Yeah.
12. I'm just
positive mindset, right? You push it, you get it.
I'm an optimist in general, but I, especially with what we talked about last week on the happy hour and where small business is going to be, where real estate is going to be, the opportunities, it will be an abundance of opportunity for those that are prepared to leverage. Those are that prepared to take advantage. If you've sat and head in the sand and just kind of survived through these, these 2 months, 3 months, whatever it winds up being, you won't be ready and you won't have time to get ready. Whereas we're here, we're having these kind of dialogues. We're going to be ready.
Okay. And see, I want to just pinpoint that's the difference between that. So it's Gabe from like tens of thousands, kabillion people. Gabe has already worked on his systems. Gabe already has the systems in place. He is already implementing. He has pivoted and he is ready for the next opportunity to hit. So can you follow that train of thought? And I'm asking you, my audience, can you follow that train of thought? Because if you can, then you are ready for anything that can happen. If you're not, come talk to us now.
So Gabe, we love what you do. We love what you're doing. Where can everybody else find more about you? Check you out. We got down here, Real Gabe DaSilva. You can find him on Instagram. Where's the other best places to find you?
The website, just GabeDaSilva.com, is kind of the hub where everything happens. It's where all my blog posts are. It's the links through to everything else. So that's the hub. If anyone wants to check out what we're up to, that's where I'd send them.
Well, dude, we're super excited to have you as a friend for everything you're doing. Rock out the 75 hard. We love it. We're going back for phase 3 whenever we start again, but we excited to get back on the train, man. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.
Ciao.
So that was Gabe DaSilva. He's out there crushing. Go check him out. He does awesome at levels. Really just is out there making it happen. And he's got great systems, right? So we're only as good as our systems. We're only aligned to what we can do for what we can make there. So know your process. Is your process broken? Now is the time to really look at your core process, understand what's happening, understand what you're doing, understand where your holes are, and see if you can fill in the gaps.
And don't be afraid to pivot. Gabe has a multi-million-dollar business and he has systems designed specifically for that at-a-level business. And he has already pivoted. In the last 6 weeks, he probably had seen the writing on the wall, like he said before, and he already started pivoting. And with this black swan, COVID, hitting us, he already had those things in place. So that's the mindset you have to have. So live in the now. Past has already happened. Learn from it and plan for the future. But live right now and see what's happening right now so you can plan for those things that come ahead.
Okay, so we want to hear from you. Of course, you got a question, you want to have something featured on the show, go over there, text us at 908-312-1330. If you want to, again, reach out for us, leave a note in the comments here. We'd love to hear from you. Check out the podcast. We have a fun, awesome amount of great guests. Gabe's been a guest before. We had Amanda on the other day. She's been a guest in the past. We had Todd and Dexheimer and Greg Dickerson. They've been guests in the podcast before. Truly bringing value. If you want to get a full hour, full 45 minutes of their full story and really dive in, jump into the podcast. You can hear so much about a lot of great action steps that people are taking really to get out there and make it happen.
And if you love what you see, please rate and review and please subscribe. It would mean the world to us and it would get our message of positivity out there to the world. Thank you so much for coming and seeing and being with us today.
All right. So have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
Bye now.